All right. Actually, it's important that I just kind of go back over it in my mind because I might actually have missed details before, and now hopefully I will recall them all. So, at the end of the war, there's a government in Ukraine that becomes the government in exile led by Stepan Bandera. I believe Stepan Bandera might have died before this occurred. They were allied with Germany. They escaped, probably with some of the help of Reinhard Gehlen, and probably were recruited heavily because of Reinhard Gehlen. Reinhard Gehlen's memoir, The Service, outlines some details about Ukraine. One of my commenters was saying that this would have applied especially to the unit, the 14th Waffen Brigade, Grenadier Brigade, the Grenadiers, 14th Division Grenadiers, Waffen SS. There's also what was the Belarusian Brigade, which was the first declassified one, where a bunch of us were able to even begin finding out about this information. This was all stuff that was classified, and most of it was being kept in Britain. So it was American intelligence being kept in Britain. This is something that we found out when Obama and Bush were spying on all of us through our cell phones. We were finding out that actually a lot of this information was being stored in Britain. And so that's why we couldn't get it or subpoena any of it. Remember, that was a big leak that everybody felt that Julian Assange was some horrible traitor against the democratic cause for exposing this. But what he was helping do is piece together one of the last pieces for how did America and Britain hide absolute, positively Nazis in charge of being Nazis, doing the worst Nazi things that Nazis could have done. So one of the things that I have had to face is that with the Ukrainians, they also were involved in forcible removal, and they were also involved in massacres as well. Reinhard Gehlen, for how much in his memoir he likes to talk about how he wasn't really very fond of the Nazis. He didn't like their influence in the German armed forces. But then you start to understand, no, his concern was always Germany and the German armed forces for the future of the greater Deutschland. Whatever that took is whatever that took. That's my honest opinion now. I don't know how Reinhard Gehlen felt about Jews. I don't care. He is who he is, and he lived during the time he lived, and he did what he did. And now my republic has to deal with it. So, and my republic fundamentally helped him along the way for the latter half of his career to become one of the most important spy masters in history. So the Ukrainian thing is to basically keep people from knowing the culpability of not just the Democratic Party and knowing all of this and going along with it for a generation or more, but that the Bush family is absolutely, positively, directly tied to this. And them taking over, fundamentally kind of purchasing the Republican Party for about a lifetime was how they kept themselves from, or kept any investigation from going. One of the most important things that I had to accept about like the way that went down is that all of this came up in congressional testimony. In the book, America's Nazi Secret, by our FBI hunter who found all this in Ukraine and Belarus, he actually talks about the hearings that went on where we were about to expose all of this way back in the 80s. And it got shot down. He tells who shot it down, and he actually ends up going into some details about how he found out culpability within the FBI and culpability in naturalization immigration services. People changing the names of Nazis slightly so that you wouldn't know that they were from Belarus or Ukraine. and their name would look more German or Russian or something like that. So, and I mean, I've encountered many people who their name was like this, but they took off the ski, or somebody supposedly changed it at Ellis Island. The vast majority now of white descendants are people who came here via Ellis Island, not like my people who came here way, way back on boats from Britain and ended up establishing themselves in the interior. So that's what the Ukraine thing is about. When the junta happened and the present government took over and pushed out this supposedly horrible pro-Putin, terrible government, the organization that was helping this was the Azov Battalion. They were the violent people of the Maidan. They also had been used for various photo ops, one of which was at Sochi Olympics with the physical attack on Pussy Riot. Those security guards were Ukrainian. That's why they were using horsewhips. You could see from their patches, they had the red and the black of, I think it's the Svoboda, either Svoboda or Right Sector, but it's that's what they wear when you're one of these Azov Battalion types. They're red and black. So, yeah. So that's just where that's at. I wanted to drop a few minutes of this while I got coffee and started my day. I got to pay rent and do all that business. So, all right. Talk to you later.